gang, Jeremy Wright here once again. This is part 2 of my fall updates when it comes to my plants and aquariums. And fortunately, unfortunately, however it may be, when this time of year hits, it's like lots of plants come inside. And that's just kind of how it is around my place. So in several rooms, literally from the floor to the ceiling, it just becomes plants everywhere, and it gets kind of hard to walk here in my foyer, or at least on the back side of my desk here in the foyer. So this is sort of what I see when I walk in, and that's just how it is. So whatever, we'll just rock along with that. So yeah, they're literally going up to the ceiling. What I'm actually doing as far as work projects and maintenance, other than picking leaves daily that fall into things, when we have plants that are experiencing a change of season, it's not uncommon at all for them to drop leaves, for them to change a bit, and sometimes I just literally drop them down in spots like that. It's not uncommon to see plants adapting to the change of environment. I've got a few things that I've noticed, like a light bulb that's out. This light just literally hangs down in amongst the plants here, so whatever. Thanksgiving cactus, right on time, putting out some nice little blooms here in early November. Part 1 of this was kind of the last week in October, and now we're sort of migrating here into the first week of, you can see one of my messes that I have kind of hidden. As we move in here, there are things that I'm just catching up on. One of them is, my son has this thing where he moves fish. So sometimes I look down into tanks or tubs that shouldn't have anything, like this one, and I see fish. And I don't know if it was me not catching them all last round or if something else has happened. So going through the tubs, another thing that I do pretty frequently in unfiltered systems, see this surface scuzz? The way I deal with it, actually, let me grab something. I'll show you how to deal with that. Okay, so these are some of the tools that I frequently walk around with. Now, I'm not always using this particular jar, but I generally have that bucket, this little thing, and some kind of dipping jar. It would be better if I had one that's a bit smaller, but this is my trick for duckweed and surface scuzz. So if we look down in here, there's a little bit of duckweed. I'm going to try and get this in the same swoop as I'm cleaning the surface scuzz. So the way we go about that is simply dip the mouth of the container down in and push it down a little bit, and all the surface scuzz is just going to fall in here. So this is surface skimming. I've made videos of this in the past. It's a really useful trick for anybody with tanks that have floaters, possibly heavily planted aquariums or natural aquariums that accumulate some surface scuzz. Surface scuzz isn't a bad thing. It's often an indication that maybe you have some very healthy microbiology. It can also be an indication that you've got something decaying in a tank. So you have to look, and you can't just glance at surface scuzz and know why it's there. Really look everything over. I have one tank that the surface scuzz generally just comes out of a hang-on back because it's got a lot of microbiology growing in that. And there are also roots from plants in that hang-on back that support and give microbiology a really healthy place to live and grow, but as a result, it's just there, and it sort of causes a gas exchange barrier at the surface of the water, and we don't really want that. So, and also it's kind of unsightly, right? But it's not necessarily an unhealthy thing. But if you do have systems, tubs, unfiltered tanks do this a lot, those that have unbroken water surfaces or just no actual filter, you have to come through and do this. Now, bonus, it catches duckweed too. That's what this is for. And if I were to perhaps catch some fry, now I've dumped them in a container that's really easy to see, and when I'm pouring either this off into there, I can control and keep my fry in here and then dump them back. So that's it's actually the source of an argument I got into once with one of Father Fish's younger admins on his Facebook group who didn't know I was previously one of his staff members and had just kind of stepped away for a while. And I tried to suggest, he was telling people to go get a comb to get duckweed out. And I was like, man, you don't need to get a comb. Practice the art of surface skimming like this, and it will come to you rather than you trying to go to it, and makes things super easy. But that's actually one of the tricks that I do kind of on a daily basis around here. So I just go around, do a little surface skimming. If there are tanks or tubs that have some duckweed or excess duckweed, I can get this down in here and really do a good job. Now, when it's a little tighter or more cramped spaces, I've got a tank behind me that would be a good example of this. And again, we can look down in here, no fry, pour it off into here, check again, no fry, check mark. Some dark water, isn't it? Lots of tannins in here. So I'll probably even be doing, well, maintenance over here in the tubs is just, it's time. It's time. I do this, infrequently, but these aren't really important systems to me as far as being sightly, so I quite often let some duckweed hang out back here. Not super bent out of shape if I don't get it all. Other tanks, I want to get it all. And this is a great method for getting it all. I have several that I've, like I said, sometimes my 10-year-old or others start moving fish around without my knowledge, pranking me, like just the kind of stuff kids do. And duckweed gets moved into systems that I didn't want them in or didn't have them in. And like from the net. And, he doesn't know. He just thinks it's funny, and I'm not going to, ground him over that. But that's a joke between me and my son, is he hides my fish or moves them. I have no idea why. He's done it since he was like 5, and he just gets the hugest kick out of that. And, it's one of those make dad mad kind of things. And whatever. Or annoy dad is probably a better way to say it. So in this tank or tub, there are a lot more fry, a lot more guppies. Don't know how many. I'd say we're probably in the like 40 or 50 range down in here. But there's also a lot more duckweed. I can't get over here very quickly, very easily. So like some of the tanks that are also much harder to get to, the duckweed kind of hangs around. So this is one of my fall projects, is get the duckweed out of the tanks that are harder to get to. And now they're even harder to get to now that the outside tropical plants came in for the cooler weather. But that's okay. We can get it. It's not really that big of a deal. It does take some patience. And if you lack patience, you might not be able to succeed at totally removing duckweed without breaking down a tank. So why is that? It's because you have to stay at it. Once you think that you've gotten it all out, walk away for a day, come back, you'll see some more. And that's just kind of how duckweed is. It can come back from even, looking in here, we do have one small gup, and I don't think I got any floaters that I didn't mean to get out, but I'm going to be looking down in here and kind of keeping an eye on that small fish. Almost dumped it. Now that it found the edge, it's going to stay back. Usually they stay back anyway. and I can just sort of pour until I've gotten the floaters off and out. And I had to make sure I didn't just dump the fish. Not hard, you just don't dump it all at once. Anyone can do this. Your kids can do this for you. They would probably have a blast. It's a skill like anything else. Like, you know, you might not be good at this the first time you do it, but after a little bit of practice, you'll probably be quite good at it and even proficient. So, let's see. Did I dump the fish? No, did not dump the fish. Okay, so now we simply pour the fish back in. So that's one of the things that I'm doing. That's what I removed out of these tubs. No big deal. I can dump that in, you know, that's good, healthy, nutrient-rich water. So I can probably put that either on some of my tropical plants that need some water, like that guy, or, you know, just pour it out outside. That doesn't matter, really. As long as there's, you know, nothing that I don't want to lose in there. This tank, kind of hard to get to. Similarly, in one of these areas where it's hard to walk, you got to duck under some pothos leaves and stuff to get in and beside this area. But there are also a lot of plants growing up above it and tons of fry. So in coming days or weeks, I'm going to start working on this one and try to make it duckweed free. Or at least, yeah, I'll probably actually try to make it duckweed free. Let's go look at another tank that I've been doing this for a little longer, for about a week. All right, so here's tank A here in my living room. I can move the step ladder out of the way because I'm not dealing with those guys yet until it's feeding time. Really, it is feeding time, but I decided to do this instead. So they're all looking at me like, what are you doing? Well, I'm showing you guys what happens after you stay at this for a few days or a week in a tank. This one was utterly covered with duckweed. So, like you would expect, it's trapped in a lot of these areas really close to plants, where plants come up to the surface or they're floating. That's where this little thing comes in handy. It's got a nice little handle on it. I can control it really well. I can stick it in areas. But what you have to do after a while, once you've gotten it all off the surface, then you have to start focusing on the stuff that's trapped just under the surface, like this stuff in some guppy grass. So how am I going to get it out? Shake it around. It also helps to do a nice water top off. Well, in this case, I just grabbed a chunk, so whatever. We're gonna zoom back out a bit. And yeah, you have to be persistent because duckweed can come back from just a few cells, So if you're not persistent, stay at it and actually get it all, you still have it. But you can get it all. And if you're, you know, an OCD type person or just persistent, you'll be able to do this. But don't give up after one session and think, oh, that stuff's just there forever. Well, it's there forever if you give up, for sure. But you can remove it, as long as, you know, you don't have kids that are constantly adding it back or something from other tanks. So, or, you know, getting it from other plants that you buy. That's how it enters my tanks, is usually from other plants that I don't know it's on. And wash stuff off. Give it a good rinse. But this is a pretty good method. So, you know, not getting really serious about this right now, but this, I'll show you this tank. It's just beautiful right now. One of the reasons this tank looks so natural is because we have semi-aquatic terrestrial plants, begonia, synjonium, tradescantia, what else? that's all that are growing up from this one. But uh, terrestrial plants can do really well. And at this time of year, when it's like the garden stuff's going to start dying off, take some cuttings, stick the plants that like wet feet down in your tanks, let them root. Then you've got, starters for next spring. That's what I'm doing with begonias. That's what I'm doing with synjonium. And I take cuttings from these guys. I sell them year round, and that's enough to pay for my lights and when filters die or when I need new, fish food, whatever like that. But looking down into this tank, and I know there's something right in front of me, a tank that's being rebuilt. Here's something kind of cool. It's a grass that's very closely related to St. Augustine. It's a centipede grass. It's been growing in the top of this tank for months now. It's not supposed to do that. It just is doing that. So don't be afraid to try stuff. There's also some stuff that's getting away from me, like a begonia leaf that fell down in there that the snails are attacking. This tank is pretty soft right now. It gets a lot of water cycling through it, so KHGH is kind of low. Snail shells don't look that great in this tank right now. It's just whatever. It's fine. I'm not trying to grow ram's horn snail. It's the ram's horns in particular. The Malaysian trumpet snails, pond snails, they're doing fine. The ram's horns, on the other hand, like let's get a zoom on these guys. Where were they? I just saw some down in here on this. They're a little bit deeper. Oh well, we can't get a focus. Anyway, they're doing fine. They're reproducing. Their shells just don't look that great. So, like, there's one. Just a little light, a little pale, low minerals, as expected. So, when you get to the point in a tank that has almost all of the duckweed removed, that's when you start going through and finding little bits like that are trapped under the surface. And you have to kind of shake them free and get them to float up. But will happen, or you just reach in and grab them, and eventually you'll spot them all, you'll get them all out. This one I've been working on for, like I said, probably a week. It was absolutely covered, and now it's really not. This little tank had a bit of duckweed in it. It's gone now. And this is the one I was working on probably just prior to that 55 that I was just showing you. And if I look hard, I can still find something. Like there's a piece trapped down under the surface. And that happens because one, there are guppies in here, but two, there's a hang on back and it kind of gives some pieces a plunge. So I just pulled that out. I can see a couple of other pieces, but that's not really what I'm doing right now. I'm walking around talking about projects. This tank, this is sort of one of my problem tanks right now. It has one of the lights, the Hygger light is off because it's just had an algae problem. The nutrient level in this tank pretty low, yet algae keeps growing. So what I've done is I've cut down the hours to like 4 hours on this one. I leave the cabinet, this is in an armoire, I leave it open so the guppies just aren't in the dark. But it's only getting about 4 hours of daylight. Now I went for about a month period doing this. It didn't quite get it all. If it persists, hey, I might just pull out all the hornwort and start fresh. But I think I can get it just by leaving it on a cycle like this for another 4 to 6 weeks. Anyway, those are some of the projects I've got going right now, and I'll probably just stay at it. It's not something that, takes a lot of my time, but as I'm walking around in the day, I might spend 15 or 20 minutes on these things. And after a while of just, regular maintenance, they start looking really good.